The roots of the automobile company Porsches lie in Mafferstorf, Bohemia, where Ferdinand Porsche was born on 3 September 1875. He came as the third child of Anton Porsche and his wife Anna. Ferdinand was only 11 years old when the automobile was invented, and history notes that he had keen interest in electricity. Notably, at age 13, he could well install electric doorbells, doing so at his parents' home, and moving on to electric lighting at age 16. What remains fascinating is the fact that he started out as a plumbing apprentice to his father, but had deep-rooted hunger in understanding technology. This, and the abilities he could master at such a young age, led him to begin a career at the Vereinigten Elektrizitätswerk of Bela Egger & Co., an electrical company in Vienna. The company was later named Braun Boveri. Ferdinand Porsche landed the job when he was only 18 years of age, and at the same time, enrolled as a part-time student at the Imperial Technical University in Reichenberg, now known as the Vienna University of Technology. Lasting only a few years at Bela Egger & Co., Porsche had his supervisors thoroughly impressed by his technological skills, which afforded him promotion from entry-level to management. The year 1897 was full of milestones for Porsche. That year, he built an electric wheel hub motor, the concept for which had been developed by American inventor Wellington Adams more than a decade earlier, raced his wheel hub motor in Vienna, and began working in the newly created electric car department at Hofwagenfabrik Jacob Lohner & Co., a Vienna-based company belonging to the Austro-Hungarian Army's Joint Imperial and Royal Army. In 1898, Porsche developed the Egger-Lohner electric vehicle C2 Phaeton, also known as the P1, and it emerged as the first electric car. Porsche's engineering continued on a successful track, and after working at Lohner for nearly 8 years, in 1906, he became technical manager of the Austro-Daimler Company. He further moved to the Stuttgart-based Daimler Motor and Gesellschaft Company in 1923, becoming a technical manager and executive board member. For his accomplishments, Porsche received an honorary doctorate degree by the Imperial Technical University in 1917. In 1937, he was awarded the German National Prize for Art and Science. It was in 1900 that Porsche's engineering abilities came under the international spotlight in Paris, when his wheel hub engine was used to power the Lohner Porsche newly developed non-transmission vehicle at the World's Fair of 1900. To his great satisfaction, Porsche's wheel hub engine received wide acclaim, and the development of the wheel hub proved that a vehicle could be propelled by all 4 wheels, making it the world's first all-wheel drive car. This construction principle was employed by NASA 70 years later in the design of the lunar rover. Did you know the world's first hybrid car, a vehicle powered by petrol and electricity, originated from Ferdinand Porsche? Also in 1900, Porsche tested his engine in a race on the Semmering circuit near Vienna and won. In 1902, he got to drive one of his own designs while serving as a reserve foot soldier in the KUK, and subsequently, a driver for Archduke Franz Ferdinand. On June 8, 1948, a hand-built aluminum prototype labeled No. 1 became the first vehicle to bear the name of one of the world's leading luxury car manufacturers, Porsche. Although Ferdinand Porsche founded the Porsche Car Company in 1931, after leaving Daimler, he spent the early 1920s overseeing the development of the Mercedes compressor car, and later, in 1934, developed the first designs of the Volkswagen car with his son, Ferdinand Anton Ernst Porsche. In 1934, Porsche became deeply involved in Adolf Hitler's People's Car Project. Now this is where it gets exciting. During World War II, Porsche and his son were tapped by Hitler to produce a heavy tank for the Tiger program. Porsche submitted a prototype with an advanced drive system that was superior on paper, but not on the battlefield. Prone to breakdowns and crucial design flaws, a competing company, Henschel and Sohn, got the contract to produce the Panzer tanks. 90 to 100 Porsche Tiger chassis were produced, and later some were converted into tank destroyers, known as Panzerjäger called, and they were named Ferdinand. Mounted with a Krups turret and 88mm anti-tank gun, the long-range weapon could take out enemy tanks before they reached their own range of effective fire. The 1942 heavy tank design was originally known as the VK 4501 and due to the complex nature of the drive system, it wasn't selected. The 90 chassis that had already been built were converted into self-propelled anti-tank guns and were thereafter put into service in 1943 as the Panzerjäger Tiger and known by the nickname Ferdinand. The Ferdinand was driven by a hybrid electric powertrain and was armed with a long barrel development of the 88mm anti-aircraft gun. The most common reason for losses was because the vehicle became stuck or broke down, and so the crews often had to destroy their own vehicles to avoid allowing them to be captured. It had a kill ratio of nearly 10:1, but as with most German wartime vehicles, lack of supplies made maintenance a serious problem, reducing the effectiveness of the vehicles and forcing crews to destroy many otherwise operational vehicles. Porsche was asked to continue the design of the Volkswagen in France and to move the factory equipment there as part of war reparations. While in France, Porsche was also asked to consult on the design and manufacture of the upcoming Renault 4 CV, which led to serious conflict with the recently appointed head of Renault, the former resistance hero, Pierre Lefaucheux. Differences within the French government and objections from the French automotive industry put a halt to the Volkswagen project before it had even begun, and by December of 1945, French authorities imprisoned Porsche, Anton Pitch, and Ferry Porsche as war criminals, under rightful suspicion of collaboration as personal friends of the former Führer. While Ferry was freed after 6 months, Ferdinand and Anton were imprisoned first in Baden-Baden and then in Paris and Dijon. They were forced to serve a 22-month prison sentence. While his father was in captivity, Ferry worked diligently to keep the company in business and developed a business for the repair of automobiles, water pumps, and winches. A contract with Piero Duzio was completed for a Grand Prix motor racing car, the Type 360 Cisitalia, a Porsche company product. To his son, upon his return, Porsche reportedly said, "I would have built it exactly the same, right down to the last screw." The father-son team went on to make history in 1950, when they introduced the Porsche sports car. In addition to its work with Cisitalia, the company also started work on a new design, the Porsche 356, the first car to carry the Porsche brand name. The company then was located in Gmünd in Carinthia, where they had relocated from Stuttgart to avoid Allied bombing. The company started manufacturing the Porsche 356 in an old sawmill in Gmünd. They made only 49 cars, which were built entirely by hand. The legal circumstances of Piech and Porsche imprisonment, as well as trial, could be largely apportioned to Ferdinand Porsche's contribution to his country's war effort and personal friendship with Hitler. In the Porsche family's own account, the affair was a thinly veiled attempt at extorting money and forcing them to collaborate with Renault. But the family was deceptive about the use of forced labor and the size of their wartime operation. It was later revealed that approximately 300 forced laborers were employed, including Poles and Russians. During the war, it was common practice for German factories of this size, about 1,000 workers, to use what was essentially slave labor, often with Slavic prisoners of war who were frequently worked to death. The post-war French government required a payment of 1 million francs, variously described as ransom or bail, for the release of Piech and Porsche. Initially unable to obtain this amount of money, the family eventually raised it through their contract with Cisitalia. During a trial, witnesses were brought forward to testify that no French prisoners had been imported to work at the plant. Porsche died in Stuttgart on January 30, 1951, at the age of 75. Nearly 60 years later, in 2009, the Porsche Museum opened in Zuffenhausen, a suburb of Stuttgart. Like and share the video with your friends, and don't forget to turn on post notifications after you subscribe, so you do not miss out on other exciting business stories coming your way.